for the sake of YouTube, I just brought YouTube onto the live stream. So for their sake, I'm going to start the song from the beginning. We can. Yeah, I'm also streaming this on Rumble. Hi, YouTube world. Don't you feel special?
My heart's on fire. You come to me wild and wild. You come to me, give me everything I need. Give me a lifetime promises and a world of strength. Love like you know what it means. Get me wrong. Take my heart and make it strong. You're simply the best. Better than all the rest. Better than anyone. Anyone I've ever met. Stop on your heart.
Everybody put your hands in the air.
Simply the best.
Everybody put your hands in the air.
Just as long as I'm here in your arms, I could be no better place. You're simply the best. Better than all the rest. Better than anyone. Anyone I've ever met. Stop on your
Everybody put your hands in the air.
simply the best.
Everybody put your hands in the air.
All right, you can hear me now. You can hear me. We're gonna do it again. This time with the song on silent, and I'm just gonna talk about what we're seeing. Quickly. I don't want to spend too much time on this. I've actually done that before. Okay, so basically, I don't, I don't think I'm better than anybody else. I don't think anyone is better than anybody else. I do think that all human beings are intrinsically equal. We're not all equal in terms of our gifts and abilities and talents, no, but our value as human beings, our intrinsic worth, we're all equal. So I don't think I'm better than anybody else. That's not what I'm trying to say with this video. What I'm trying to say, though, is that my credentials, my university credentials, are among the best. They couldn't really get much better. So, I mean, other people have good. There are some other people in this world who have good university credentials too. So I'm not the best of the best, but I'm among the best. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. And so I'm the first person in my family to go to university, first of all. And I grew up in a household of domestic violence and alcoholism. Both parents, high school dropouts. My uncles are illiterate, can't even read. I come from a family of people that are not known for their academic prowess, to say the least. Okay? That doesn't mean to say that they're not smart, but in terms of academic, it's never been put onto paper like in an academic form. Okay? And yeah, let's just leave it at that. But despite that, and despite a lot of setbacks, I am the first person in my family to go to university. And this is just, what is this? This is from my high school days. This is going way back. Because I went to Churchill High School in Vancouver, which is a public school that was known for academic excellence. Like the Fraser Institute, which a lot of people don't like, but whatever, does their high school rankings for Vancouver and in terms of academic achievement, and the Churchill High School is a public school that ranks right up at the top of the list, right alongside private schools. So it's like a private school in terms of it's on par with a private school in terms of its academic achievements at that school, but it's not a private school; it's a public school. Okay, and but it's known for that. Let's just leave it at that. And I was what is this? We're pleased to advise you that your application to enroll in the International Baccalaureate Preparation Year has been accepted. So I was accepted into the IB program. IB is a program for smarty pants kids, and it started off actually originally. It's an international program. It's meant for like international children whose parents are like international diplomats, who their parents could be working in one country one year and then another country another year as diplomats, but they want their kids to be able to have the same curriculum anywhere in the world where they go. So it's an international curriculum that's the same, and in theory at least, anywhere in the world, any school that teaches it. There's only 2 high schools in Vancouver that, at least in my day, that had this IB program. That's what we call it for short, IB. And but it's very rigorous. Like it's very challenging, and it's basically trying to create like a modern Renaissance person. Like you have to be totally well-rounded. It's with arts, sciences, and also community involvement. Volunteering is a part of it, and sports too. So you just have to be everything. It was very hard. Honestly, it was the hardest I ever worked in my life. Like it was harder than university, being in IB. And you had to write a whole bunch of tests. In grade 9, IB is technically only grade 11 and grade 12. But then at Churchill, they did this preparation year for grade 10, which is like a preparation year, but it's not the official, technically speaking, IB program. So in grade 9 is when you're applying to do it, because it's starting in grade 10. And so it was in grade 9 when I got this letter, and because I had wrote, you had to write a whole bunch of tests. Like I remember going to to school one evening and write all these tests. And I got in based on those tests. And like my parents didn't even know what I was doing. They were too busy drinking to even know what I was doing. Whereas most of the other kids who are doing this, if not all of them, well, not all of them, but I say most of them, would have been pushed into it by their parents, right? My parents didn't even fucking know. I'd have to fucking fight with my parents, like, because they'd be like wanting to do something and it would like conflict with something I needed for school, right? Like they were not helping. My parents were not they were not pushing me and they were not really even helping. They were an impediment. Okay, but I I was successful despite that. Um yeah, I know. Nobody fucking cares, right? But I think I deserve to talk about myself. So, here we go. Um then the next thing it's going to show us is this is a letter coming from like the school board of Vancouver, some trustee with the school board. I understand and see my name, Dear Tom. So I don't go by the name Tom anymore. Legally, my name is Thomas, named after my dad. My dad was known as Tom. I was always known as Tommy. When I started grade 8, started high school, my mom said, "Oh, you should change your name to Tom because it sounds more masculine. You're not going to want people to call you Tommy for the rest of your life." Actually, I do want them to call me Tommy for the rest of my life. But it's during those awkward high school years. And to this day, people who know me from high school know me as Tom, and it's so awkward. That's what I was known as. And I understand from Miss Dawson that you were a member of the grade 9 team, which placed second in the recently completed 1994 American Express Geography competition. I want to add my congratulations to you on achieving such a significant honor. Your topic, "Does region affect what you wear?" sound fascinating and obviously impressed those who judged the over 300 entries received. Okay, so this was a thing that went on back in the 90s. They discontinued it at a certain point, but like American Express credit card had this geography competition all across Canada. And yeah, there was different like it was grade 9 with grade 10s, like you didn't like there were different categories. But for the grade 9 level, my team won second prize in Canada. And we were treated to a trip to Toronto to collect our prize, which was a check for $2,000. Um, and we were like we had a weekend on the town in Toronto, like these American Express PR people were taking us all over town. I saw a Blue Jays game, Blue Jays versus the New York Yankees, and just all sorts. Like I've never been on a plane ever before in my life. That was my first time ever on an airplane. Like I said, my parents were on welfare, and so my first time on an airplane, like I earned it. Okay, and it was a huge airplane too. I don't think they have such huge ones anymore. Um, what else to say about this? Okay, not to toot my own horn, but really I was the one who wrote this project. Like the other students didn't really do. I put in a lion's share of the effort. Me and maybe one other girl, but there's 5 people on our team. The other 3 people didn't really do much. Um, it probably helped that we did something that a credit card company would like. Like, does region affect what you wear? So we were doing like we did surveys at like 3 different malls in different parts of Vancouver region, and tried to see if there were differences in people's fashion choices based on like what part of the city they were from, what part of the urban area they were from, and right, which is like right up a credit card company's alley, right? Like they do that kind of studies themselves, credit card companies, finding out like what products are going to sell better in one area versus another area. So I mean, we weren't thinking about it like that, but I'm sure that that didn't hurt. No, the reason why we did that topic was because all the other people on the team were girls and they were all into fashion, and they, which I am too now, but maybe not so much then. Um, and they just wanted to do something to do with fashion. Okay, but where's the geography? There has to be geography in it. So that's where I was told that, like, came into the idea. well, how does the fashion choices that people make, how does that change depending on where they're living, what part of the city they're in? Okay. And we even looked at like weather patterns and how that might be influencing it. Um, it was good. It was good. We were good. Like, but the thing is, I put this on. I even have this on my resume to this day. I've had it on my resume, and I don't think it really impresses anyone. But I put it on there just to show that I've always been a geographer. Like, I now have a master's degree in geography, but even back in grade 9, I was winning geography competitions. Okay, I've always been a geographer since I was as far back as I can remember. I've always been fascinated with the planet, with atlases, with maps, with different countries and different cultures. Like my mind has always been that of a geographer, like, long before I ever went to university. Okay, and so I put this on here to show that, like, I've been a long-standing geographer. Okay, and something else to say. Oh, it says it actually down here. Churchill School earned 3 of the 6 top awards in the competition. Right, like year after year after year, like the students from Churchill were winning like half the winners in this national contest all across Canada. Half the winners were from Churchill, and it was like that year after year. Like I said, this was a high achieving school, right up there with private schools. Okay. Um, mhm. Okay, moving on. Um, what is this one? This is another congratulations. I don't know who this is from. Congratulations on your terrific achievement as the second place winner in the 1993-94 American Express Geography Competition. Okay, this is actually the letter from American Express telling me that I won. Right. And they said, we look forward to your entry for next year. There wasn't an entry for next year because they discontinued the contest. So that was the last year that they even did that contest. That is when I won. So in the end, though, I didn't even graduate from high school. I was a top achieving student and I was in the International Baccalaureate program, but I ended up not even graduating because, well, things started to change when I was picked on mercilessly, and it had to do with being gay, and it had to do with being effeminate in particular, because other people can be gay. Gay is a sexual orientation, right? Not all gay guys are feminine, but I have, like, now I've been diagnosed with it, but I would have had it back then too. It's just not diagnosed, like gender dysphoria. So I very well could have gone down the transgender route. I've talked about that before. I've decided at a young age I didn't want to do that. I wanted to, do something else. So, but I was picked on. That's the point. Okay, for that. Also, I was like one of the only white boys in most situations. I didn't speak Cantonese. Um, my family was poor on welfare, but we lived in a pretty well off part of Vancouver. So those were all things that made me different from most of the rest of the students, and I was picked on. And but then when I came out as gay, like I started going to the Gay and Lesbian Center downtown Vancouver in grade 11, and that gave me an enormous, like, then that sort of led to me coming out as gay in my high school. But I started having a social life downtown with the kids that I met at that youth group, and I went from being a total nerd with no friends to now having tons of friends, like really cool friends downtown. And I didn't have any skills, any ability to, like, know how to handle that and still meet my responsibilities with school. So I ended up skipping school a lot. I was working too, right? And like I said, I come from a poor family. Like, I had to work in order to feed myself at that point. Um, so that made it difficult too. I would be working late nights at a store downtown, and I ended up. I never actually dropped out of high school, but I just didn't have enough credits to graduate. Um, and then so after high school, I just continued working my job that I had, and then other jobs, and I was living this crazy partier lifestyle as a young person. Those were fun years. And then it wasn't until I was like 24. Okay, so quite a few years later, like, that I went back to to school, but I still didn't finish grade 12, didn't finish high school. You could just go to university as a mature student if you were over 21. I think you had to have a B or higher in English 12, which I did have that. Even though I hardly ever went to class, I still did have that. Probably helps that I was one of the only students in the class who could speak English. So it was probably pretty easy for me to get a high grade. Um, and so so yeah, I started going to Kwantlen. That's how I went back into school. Is I went to this community college, university college called Kwantlen University College. BC, the province of BC, has now changed their university system, and Kwantlen now is actually considered a fully fledged university. But back then, in 2004, it was like they had these what were called community colleges or university colleges. You couldn't do a full degree there, okay? But you do some university courses that you could transfer for credit at a real university if you want to finish your degree, which I did do. Um, but yeah, this was my first of many scholarships, so I was at Kwantlen University College, getting myself back into school, and then I was getting like straight A pluses. Like they'd never seen anything like it. And this was a scholarship. I remember this was $2,250. I was broke as fuck, and it was right before Christmas, see, November 25th, 2004. And I got, it which seemed like a lot of money right back then, just over $2,000. Um, yeah, I quit my job at Canadian Tire actually. I'm like, screw you people, I don't want to work here anymore. Because of that, they weren't very accommodating to my schedule, and I wanted to focus more on school. So, anyways, moving on. Okay, so then the next thing is to actually transfer from Kwantlen College to a real university, which I did do. I transferred to Simon Fraser University. There's two major universities in the Vancouver area: Simon Fraser University and then University of British Columbia. Um, and then as part of the transfer process, I applied for entry scholarships, and I was offered this $10,000 Honorable William M. Hamilton College Transfer Scholarship. So that's the highest scholarship that they have. For transfer students, they have other scholarships higher than that for people straight out of grade 12. But for a transfer student coming from one of these community colleges, transferring in, this was the highest scholarship that you could get. Um, and it was broken up in 4 installments. So for 4 semesters, each semester I would get $2,500, and my tuition would usually be maybe around 1,500, 1,600, something like that. Depends how many credits you're taking. And then my books would be maybe like $400 or $500 usually. So tuition and books would be about 2,000 a semester. But because I was getting $2,500 a semester from this transfer scholarship, that was all covered. I didn't have to pay tuition, didn't have to buy my books were paid for, and I would get like about $500 left over, which I would just get. And this wasn't my only scholarship too, but I had this for 4 semesters. This changed my life. This scholarship did this one scholarship. Like I've had other scholarships, but this scholarship in particular changed my life because I don't know if I would have been able to make it through university if I didn't have this. It was a vote of confidence, and I felt like I had to meet the expectations of those who decided to award this to me. The faceless people, I didn't know who they were, but I felt a responsibility to live up to it, and it also made it easier, right? Because most of the other students that I was in school with were living at home with parents, and I wasn't. I had to pay. I pay most of the time when I was in university. I was living on my own. Like I didn't even have roommates because sometimes I did, but for the most part I didn't because it didn't usually work out. Most of the time I lived in an apartment in New West with where my rent was $580 a month. Like I had to pay for everything. Is what I'm trying to say. And this, like I had student loans on top of this, but this made it doable. And I don't know if I would have gone finished down the university path if I hadn't have got this. So this was huge. Um, okay, let's move along. So this is just Golden Key International Honor Society. It's basically like being on the honor roll. It just means it's just a membership in a club, in a group that you're only allowed to be a part of if you have really high marks. And so I did graduate with a certificate in urban studies. It's just based on the courses that I selected as part of my degree. So the same courses went towards my degree here. Bachelor of Arts, first class honors. First class honors, which means that I did an extra semester of credits on top of a regular bachelor's degree, and I had to write an honors essay, and of course you had to have high marks. So this is the top best Bachelor of Arts degree that you can get. Okay. Um, and so this is a letter. The dean from SFU, Simon Fraser University, I received this in the mail after I'd graduated, saying, your name was among those nominated for the Dean's Convocation Medal for Academic Excellence in the Faculty of Arts and Sciences. Your academic achievements during your undergraduate program at SFU have been exceptional. Professors in the geography department praise you as one of the top 3 students to come out of geography's undergraduate program in the past 10 years. Top 3. One of the top 3 in the past 10 years. That's where I feel that I'm justified in putting this stuff to a song called Simply the Best. Again, I'm not saying that I'm better than anybody else. I don't think anyone is better than anybody else. But my academic achievements put me among the best, among the top 3 in the past 10 years. Okay? That's not just graduating at the top of your class. Yeah, I did graduate at the top of my class. But top 3 in the past 10 years. Um, and so that was awesome. And right, they liked my honors essay on the Little Mountain Housing Project, which then eventually turned into my master's thesis. What is this? This is just a reference letter for a job that I was applying for. It's a reference letter from one of my professors, Dr. Clapp. Let's read what it says, because I loved this course. World Resources. This was a fucking awesome course. I learned a lot. I didn't get this job, by the way. But let's just read this paragraph. As a student in my World Resources class during 2006, Mr. Thompson excelled in all aspects of the course, ranking first in a class of 45. His performance in classroom discussions and on the final exam showed that he understands new ideas quickly and completely, synthesizes disparate materials effortlessly, and readily identifies areas of overlap or ambiguity for further research. His communication skills are excellent. He writes like a seasoned researcher on topics both academic and practical, and speaks with eloquence, clarity, and confidence without monopolizing the discussion. Like, thank you. I'm so glad that he wrote that. Like, a lot of people seem to find fault with me, but in recent years, but this is nice. Somebody is recognizing it. His market report on crude oil, right, you had to do it, it was outstanding. Eloquently composed, meticulously researched and documented, an alert to the effects of technological change on the supply of oil and alternative fuels. He predicted that the diversion of food grains to ethanol production might exacerbate food insecurity among the poor. This prediction has been confirmed by recent months' increase in corn prices and apparent shortages in Latin American staple foodstuffs. Okay, so there you go. People think that what I say nowadays, people treat me like what I say is fucking nonsense. But no, just fucking take it seriously when I make a prediction, bitch. Mr. Thompson worked with a team of 4 other students to analyze and present an excellent study of the Port of Vancouver and its roles in Canada's resource industries. Team projects are difficult for many students, since they require the strongest students to organize others who may be less gifted and motivated, and to integrate and sometimes rewrite contributions of varying quality. Some otherwise fine students fail to bring others up to their level. Tommy's group worked better than any other group I've observed in 10 years of group assignments, and I think that is credit to his leadership as well as his research. Wow. Thank you, Dr. Clapp. It's awesome that you would say all that. It's, yeah, I mean, it's true. I don't disagree with it. I think it was true. I mean, I did organize that group very well, and but without making anyone feel lesser than. Also, like bring them up to my level. Yeah. Okay, moving on. So that's just a picture. So, you know, we were always like those were like my other university friends. They were all in geography with me. There I am right in the middle. And yeah, because I was part of what was called the Geography Student Union. Like, okay. I had an executive position actually on the Geography Student Union. And I'm not in touch with any of these people anymore, but well. Okay, what does this say? This is just, okay, this is something else for when I graduated. I'm very pleased to inform you that you've been selected by the Department of Geography to receive the annual award of the Canadian Association of Geographers. This is an award annually to the most outstanding student graduating in a geography honors major program at each university across Canada. Okay, so I got a book prize. They gave me a book. It was a book about Vancouver history, historic maps of Vancouver. And yeah, I got like a 1 year membership, like 1 year of Canadian Geographic magazines. Okay, so there it is, an undergraduate award in geography 2008. Okay, and this is just another reference letter from somebody. She was for a job I was applying for, that emergency planner job that I didn't get. Who was writing this? This was she was a PhD student, and I was working under her, like, you know, working as a part-time job to support myself as a research assistant. We'd have to go to the research forest, the UBC research forest, which is not in UBC. It's in Maple Ridge. It's an old growth forest. Because she was a soil scientist, she was research and she'd collect samples under the trees or whatever, and I was just helping her. But the main thing was I was on bear duty, okay, because the university would not allow her to go off into the woods by herself. You have to have a companion, and who like holds the bear spray in case a bear comes on. Okay, let me just say, I did all this. I smoked pot every single fucking day, but not before class. I would not do anything like that before class, but after school, when and after my homework was done for the night, when it was time to relax, I would smoke a joint. And okay, but also in the at the UBC Research Forest too, I did with this soil scientist. And there was one time it made me so paranoid. I thought every little sound in the forest was a bear coming. Like we had to leave. I was gonna fucking deploy the bear spray. That was, yeah. Okay, that's just a memory. I'm just. But what did she says? Tommy is a. Let's read this like middle paragraph. Tommy is unique in that he carries a strong sense of social justice. He was a social justice warrior, and participates openly in both his academic and personal spheres. So what does she mean by that? Because I was like a nerd, like academic, like, you know, but personal. Like I was outgoing and I was involved with like community life. He has contributed to Simon Fraser University's student newspaper, The Peak. Yep. And acts as a leader in his community. Tommy takes initiative to offer innovative ideas and focuses his energy to think critically on issues related to the environment and society that are both local and global in scale. I mean, it's true. Okay, let's go on. She was a nice person. Very nice to do that. Write that for me. So now I've graduated. I didn't even take any time off. I took like just the summer off. But up until that point, I never even took summers off. When I was doing my bachelor's degree, I just did courses all through the year. But I took this one summer off, and then I went uh, started at UBC that following fall, 2008, um, and it was at UBC. Okay, by the spring of 2009, that I got the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council um, scholarship. They call it SHIRK for short. And so that was to fund my master's program, basically, valued at 17,500 for 1 year. Yeah. So UBC would pay me too. I was like on the payroll of UBC. Like they would keep the money in an account and they would dole it out to me every month. It's a percentage of this, but mine after my tuition was taken out. So I never paid a dime to go to UBC. Okay, it was all on full scholarship because I had this scholarship. Plus, I had a $5,000 entrance scholarship. Plus, I was working as a teaching assistant, like, you know, for helping teach undergraduate students. So that made a little bit of money that way. And then there was one semester I think I was a research assistant, so that pays too. So I had money coming in the whole time when I was at UBC, and more than enough to cover my tuition. Like it covered my rent, covered everything. I almost didn't get this because it was time sensitive that you had to respond to it. And there was something fucked up with the mail in that area of Surrey where I lived. Like, I lived in Surrey, okay? And I was going to UBC. It's 2 hours commute minimum. I remember that was so brutal. But that's the affordable housing crisis for you right there. Um, and in order to live at student housing on campus, which I could have done, I'd have to give up my cat. I wasn't willing to do. Not willing to do. Never willing to give up my cat for a place to live. I had that cat, by the way, for 20 years. At this point, probably I only had her for 10 years. Not even. But I ended up having her for 20 years. She died when I was 40. That was half my life. But I had that cat. Anyways, moving on. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. So that's just and something else to do with that. These are my evaluations from instructor evaluations from my students when I was a teaching assistant. So I had pretty good reviews. I took an instructional skills workshop to, you know, learn instructional skills working with undergraduates. There I am. That is at the Little Mountain Housing Project, which was the subject of my thesis. The redevelopment of it was. I exposed a great deal of government corruption with that thesis. People at the United Nations have been talking about what happened there, largely because of me highlighting it. And what else to say? I used to live at that housing project as a kid, and but it was it was a terrible thing. I mean, I had to stop writing things about this because it was like after a few years of it, I would have nightmares about it. Like people were like it was a community of 200 families that were displaced, forcibly displaced by the government, um, and told that they could move back just a few years later when it was during the Olympics. And no, they still haven't. It still hasn't been rebuilt to this fucking day, almost 20 years later. Um, but it was terrible seeing these people being displaced, and but some of them tried to resist that displacement. So about half the people had been forced out, had already left, but still about maybe another half was still there, and the government would like put wooden boards on the windows and doors. Um, not of the units that were still being occupied, but the other units, and it just made for a very depressing atmosphere. And so it was an idea from one of the community activists to put paintings on the boards to kind of cheer the place up, but also to draw attention to the passing public of the tragedy that was unfolding there. So it was protest artwork, and it was in the winter time too. There was two events like this. They were called art ins. The second one was actually snow on the ground. So this is must be the first one because I don't see any snow. And they had a division of labor because some people were concerned about uh, getting criminal charges for vandalism. So the way that it happened was you would paint a painting on a piece of cardboard, and somebody else who didn't mind if they were charged would affix that painting onto the wooden boards. Okay, so it was broken up like that. And I was trying, somebody at the end of it said, "Oh, you painted so many paintings that day." I was just trying to get all the boards covered, right? So that's why I was like whipping them out, like just painting after painting. And that girl, her name is Yolande. She was a colleague of mine from UBC. She was also in the Master's of Arts, majoring in geography at the same program that I was in. Um, okay. And yeah, she was we were kind of like friends. We hung out. And look at me though. Like look at my hair coming out. And look at this coat. This was a blue coat. I loved this coat by the way. It ended up getting red and I don't still have it. but this was a Diesel brand. I just have to talk about my fashion. This was a Diesel brand jacket, and Justin Timberlake had the same fucking jacket. Okay, mine was too big for me though. I should have got a smaller size. But anyways, it was a nice jacket. I wish I still had it. I wish I kept it good. Um, oh yeah, because it's part of the song. It stays on that one a little bit longer. So in the end, I ended up getting, like I said, a master's degree, Master of Arts in Geography from UBC. And so by that point, I had been in university. This was now 2010 when I'm getting this, or 2011. Okay, let's just stop on that for a minute, but I just want to finish my thought here. Um, so it was 2011 when I got that, and I had started university in 2003. And like I said, I took one summer off, so I was tired of being in university at that point, and I had this epic long commute from Surrey. It would take 2 hours each way, and so like I could have continued. I was a shoe in. Like I basically had a guaranteed spot to continue my education at UBC. I could have done a PhD there if I wanted. But like I said, I was ready to do something different, and so I didn't. But thinking that later on I would be able to go back if I wanted to later on, and then I would say I went through when I came out of university. I really couldn't find any jobs, and then but I started deprogramming myself because I mean it was a positive experience. I'm so glad that I went to university. Um, but I do have to say a lot of it consisted of essentially brainwashing in with identity politics, and I went through a period of time, several years, where I was like making a concerted effort to undo the brainwashing, and but that doesn't mean turning your back on everything that you learned either, because there was a lot of valuable stuff that I learned. So kind of separating the wheat from the chaff, finding out what parts that I learned in school that I wanted to keep and integrate with the rest of myself, and what parts I was going to say no, that's not right, you know. And I went through that process. I've said it before. Zero Hedge website, the Zero Hedge website, like some people would call it a right wing website. I'm not. I wouldn't really say that. It's more like because they have left wing contributors down there too, but it's more of like alternative. I would call it alternative news website. Their comment section now it's moderated, but back then, like around 2013, a few years after I'd finished university, it was not moderated, so it was totally free speech. That helped me unprogram myself, like recover from the brainwashing that I received in university, and and then so I'm very disillusioned with mainstream society at this point, and then Trump came along, joining politics, and I was quite quite happy to support him, and this just put me completely offside from everybody that I've ever known from my time in university. Like all these colleagues that are raving about me and saying how wonderful I am, and now would not even speak to me. And and I've looked into doing a PhD and was told no, you can't because of the people that you're agreeing with. Um, Not just Trump, also Jordan Peterson. I've agreed with a lot of things that Jordan Peterson has said, who he himself is an academic. He's with the University of Toronto as a psychologist. But I'm he didn't get controversial until after he had his PhD, I guess. Or I mean, even if people were controversial, like in the past, like you could be controversial. Like you didn't it didn't always be the case where everybody had to think the same way. It only really got that way in the past 10, like 15 years or so. But like when I was in university, I was considered left wing. I considered myself a Marxist. Like I was far left, but I always um, thought critically and independently. And I was at the very tail end when that was allowed. The very tail end, like it was just going away actually as I was there, and and then after I was gone, it really got bad with group conformity think, and I just went in a completely different direction, and I'm just so offside from everybody else, and they just won't have it. They won't have it, and it's a shame because I've got a lot to offer. I'm, you know, but but I've just been blocked every which way that I look, every which way that I try to turn. Um, so this is like, I mean, doesn't this prove that I'm gifted? Like that I have ability? Like, doesn't it prove that? But I'm blocked from everywhere I turn, like just every job, everything. Like, you know, I don't really want to get into that too much, but I mean, the way that I'm treated now, like like I collect empty cans to make ends meet. That's that's the best that I can come up with here in Canada. Like, or that's the best that Canada can come up with for somebody with my skill set is for that person to be collecting empty cans. Um, and but I am treated like shit everywhere I go. Pretty much, like I'm treated like I'm. It's assumed that I'm going to be a shoplifter. People talk down to me like I'm stupid, like all the time, and I'm not stupid. Doesn't this show that? And but then people think, oh well, it must have been an easy degree. It's like people put down anything in the social sciences. Oh well, it must be a degree in basket weaving. That's what like right wing people would say. And no, it's not. Okay, even though I had a social sciences degree, a bachelor of arts. If we look at the courses that I took, about 1/3 of my bachelor's degree was actually made up of hard sciences, because geography is the one discipline that it very much spans both arts and sciences. There's no other discipline like that that includes both like that. Like you can do a bachelor of science majoring in geography, or a bachelor of arts majoring in geography. I don't think there's any other discipline like that. And the only reason why I went down the arts path was because, like I said, I started as a mature student, and I didn't graduate high school. I didn't actually have the prerequisite courses from like high school, grade 12, to do the science stuff for like the chemistry stuff in university. But I did do a third of my degree was hard sciences, uh, geology, earth sciences, geomorphology, you know, hydrology, atmospheric science. All of that is part of geography, but it's hard science as well. Um, so I mean, people shouldn't be putting down my degree. Um, but that's where it's at. Like I basically got nothing to show for this, um, other than unrepayable student loan debt, right? And I mean, my skills are better. My writing skills, my researching skills are better. I learned a lot from it. Uh, but in terms of like anything tangible in my life, no, it put me back. And I knew when I was doing the masters, like when I was starting the master's program, I knew that I was, for example, there would be no way that I could ever work as a teacher. Not that I really want to, but just to say, like in the province of BC where I live, they do not hire teachers in the public school system. It's impossible to get hired as a teacher uh, if you have a master's degree or higher, because as per the union, they have to pay you more based on your education. They would have to pay you more, and so hire anybody like that to keep the costs down. So to start to the only way that you can have a master's degree and be a teacher, like a high school teacher or even elementary school teacher, but if you have a master's degree is if you start working as a teacher and then go back to school and do your master's degree after that. Then you can. But you can't just have a master's degree and then start working as a teacher because they have to pay you more and then they don't want to pay you more so they don't hire you. So um, just wanted to say, like, teachers have the lowest degree you can fucking get. So not only do they not hire anybody who has master's or a PhD for that matter, um, but if you are in university, like in BC, and it's your goal is to become a teacher in the public school system, you don't even do a Bachelor of Arts like what I did. You would do a Bachelor of Education. Okay, it's a special degree. It's a bachelor's degree, but Bachelor of Education. And like at least 1 year, if not 2 years of that fucking degree is learning about how to be a teacher. It's basically job training. Okay, so the first they're only really doing half of a bachelor's degree, and then the rest of the stuff that they're learning is stuff to do with their job that they're going to get. So that's not how the other bachelor's degrees are, though. For the other bachelor's degrees, like a Bachelor of Arts, for the full 4 years, you're doing university stuff. You're not doing university stuff and then, oh, now I'm going to do job training. No, you do 4 years of university work, and the fourth year, third and fourth year, especially the fourth year, is the hardest stuff. And then you graduate. And job training comes when you actually get a job somewhere, right? Like you don't like do anything to do with your preparing for your job in university itself for any other bachelor's program. But teachers do. So they're not really doing a full bachelor's degree. They're doing part of a bachelor's degree and then job training. Basically they are, I would consider public school teachers. I'm talking about the province of BC. They're the least educated people of anyone who is in the category of people who has degrees. They are the least educated. They really are, and they're the ones who are teaching the next generation of kids, right? Like something is not right with that picture. Um, I actually I worked for a little while tutoring English, and to see the English 12 textbook in the province of BC that it's written by teachers. There were spelling mistakes in it. And it's a textbook written by these teachers who only have partial degrees. Um, like wow. Yeah, I remember it had the country of Colombia in South America was spelled wrong in this textbook. They spelled it Columbia, like just like British Columbia. No, it's Colo, not a U, an O. Anyways, there was other mistakes in it too, other weird stuff in it too. Anyways, I don't want to get into all that, but you know, people look down on me. The point that I was trying to make is it's pretty disgusting how much people look down on me and how humble I am. Like I don't go and tell them all this stuff about myself. Every person that I meet, like hardly anybody who knows this, but they look down on me. Yet I am like more educated and more accomplished than most people, including very many professionally employed people. Okay, but they look down on me, like that they think that they're better than me, and it's really disgusting. It's really disgusting. So, what did I say here? My credentials speak for themselves as they are quite simply the best. Despite that, I have been stymied, blocked, and opposed every single step of the way. The result is my broken life. I pray to God that the forces that oppose me are stopped immediately. Well, wrote this a few years ago. The forces that oppose me were not stopped immediately. uh, God, are you listening? I don't know. I have no appetite for vengeance against my opponents, as I leave that for God to take care of. Yeah, I do believe in that. I do believe that you should not take revenge. Like, I'm not out to get revenge. I'm not out to bring anybody down. You know, I'm just would like to be able to bring myself up. Uh, but I'm, like I said, I'm blocked every step of the way. So, that's my situation. um, thing is, I have an incredible amount of self confidence, and I'm at a stage in my life where I don't really like. I know what I'm worth, and if the rest of the world doesn't appreciate that, doesn't appreciate who I am or what I have to offer, that's their loss. Like, I don't really lose sleep over it. Like, I'm not out trying to prove myself. Other than odd times like this when I start talking about it. But for the most part, I'm not out trying to prove myself. And people can make fools of themselves all they want, and they do all the time when they talk down to me and look down upon me. All right. Well, that's basically all I have to say about that. Peace out, y'all.